So in this last lecture module, we're going to wrap up this discussion of personal, ethical, and legal codes or normative principles. Now, you might not have liked or been a little bit uneasy about the direction I took the discussion in the last lecture module. You may think, I don't want Wallace dictating to me what my personal codes are supposed to be. And that's in absolute opposition to the goal of the course. The course is trying to get you to think about and to have tools with which to facilitate your thinking about the relationships between your personal codes and legal and ethical codes. And it encourages you to aspire towards making your personal code as consistent with legal and ethical codes as possible. And what does that really amount to? Well, let's take a couple of examples. So suppose you have a deep conviction that abortion is immoral. But when you look at the arguments for and against abortion, you can't come up with what you feel is a convincing argument that everyone would accept for why it is that abortion is always immoral. Does that mean that if you were to get pregnant or your significant other were to get pregnant, you have to have an abortion? No. Your personal code can be more stringent in this regard than an ethical or legal code. It can say, look, you are allowed to, but the choice is up to you, up to your own conscience. In opposition to that, though, your personal conviction can't be a vehicle by which you dictate or legislate what the other people who are in that situation have to do, unless you can come up with an intersubjectively valid reason based on acceptable principles that everyone should, in fact, adhere to your personal conviction. Let's look at it from the opposite perspective. So suppose someone else has a deep personal conviction that slavery is morally acceptable. Now, they can't come up with an argument that would objectively justify this principle. Then, along the lines that we've been thinking, their personal code can't be generalized to the legal or ethical realms. It just doesn't work. And so they can't personally practice slavery. They are prohibited from engaging in that kind of conduct, even if their personal convictions are that it's acceptable, because the restrictions that are placed on our personal convictions are ones in which we can't act in ways that affect others and that are not equitable and objectively fact-based. Let's now turn to the next and final topic. So I want to finish this lecture by offering up some suggestions about how to approach the course and how to get the most out of the course. One of the things that I want to emphasize is that during various periods of this course, things that Rachel say or that I say or that the authors that you're reading say might be things that you disagree with. Don't take disagreement personally. If you live in an eclectic, diverse, democratic society, you have to learn how to interact with people even when you disagree with them. It may seem threatening or intimidating, or it may upset you, but what you should really do is try and understand why it is you disagree with what that person says, and understand why it is that they might believe it, and evaluate those reasons. That will help you interact with them more constructively. It may lead you to reconsider some of the things that you thought about, and so on. The next thing I want to encourage you to do is to try and be open-minded. So sometimes students come into the class and they treat it really as a sort of fact class. They just want to learn about the theories or talk about what people said. They don't have any intention of using this material and the tools that it presents you with to sort of think about your own personal codes, your own ethical codes, and critically engage with the various people that you read or with Rachel's and so on. But I encourage you to try and do this. When you go into a debate, say a topical debate, or even a presentation of a particular ethical theory, go into it and try and see if you can understand why people might be attracted to it. Evaluate it critically, but do so in a way that doesn't predetermine the outcome. This can be very difficult to do, but I think you'll find that it makes it easier to understand and be sympathetic to the authors that you read. I think it will also allow you to get a lot more out of the course. You'll be able to understand better how to interact constructively with people you disagree with. You'll have a better perspective on your own views and why you believe them, and so on. Indeed, I think if you try not to take disagreement personally, and you try to be open-minded, and you try and understand the views that other people present in the context of this course, you try and engage with them constructively, you try and use this class as an opportunity to reflect upon your personal codes, your ethical beliefs, the relationship between your personal, legal, and ethical codes. And I think if you do that, you'll find that it's easier to learn the material. You're more engaged by the course, and you get a greater benefit out of the course. Not just potentially a better understanding of your view, maybe even a more nuanced and sophisticated approach to certain topics, but also the ability to understand and interact with people that you don't agree with, and to understand the strengths and limitations of your own views. And I think that you'll find that if you approach the class this way, you'll find it much more rewarding, and you'll get much more out of it.